This is the Realty Classroom Podcast, episode number 183. What's the one key thing that grows your business the fastest? Are you a real estate agent who wants to turn your real estate job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan or any plan to help you get there? Well, then, hey, you are definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. And to help you take immediate action to get started in the right direction or a better direction, I've created a free jumpstart course for you that's waiting at freeagentgift.com. Freeagentgift.com. It's just a one-page infographic. There are a bunch of videos there that explain the modules and the steps. It'll really help you begin to think strategically. I wish somebody had done that for me when I started a long time ago. All right. What's the one key thing that grows your business the fastest? Now, look, I know everybody wants the quick fix and they want to get there quickly. This isn't the shiny object conversation here today on the podcast. This is more so what actually works. I'm really obsessed with locking on to what Michael Gerber said somewhere in all of his body of work in the E-Myth. How does the business really work? And again, I've talked about it multiple times in this podcast, and I won't let up. If you do not know how to get listings, you need to learn how to do so. And you need to learn how to do so, especially at the median price inside the geography within which you work and above, because that's where the business is the most profitable. So again, if you think about it, multiple listing service is all about having a bunch of listings. So those of you out there that acquire listings have full control over your destiny as a business. I'm not saying that I don't love the buy side of the business. I grew up on it. But my naivete was that wasn't necessarily the thing that grew my business the fastest, because it was very much limited by the time that I had and the buyers had to run around to try to find a property. So I learned a lot to reorder things. And then along the way in pursuing the listing business, I learned a few things. So here's the first point. There are many things, but what's the most important thing? See, I know a lot of you will push back and say, well, there are so many things to do in a business. I have to do X, Y, Z, etc. Yes, I know. It's a lot. Anytime that you're an independent contractor, you own a business. And when you own a business, there's a lot more than you think there is to it. So I think we all have that naivete as business owners that, oh, just because we know how to sell a house or we think we can sell a house, that we know the business. And that's not true. We don't. And so we'll learn along the way. It shouldn't preclude you from getting into the business. It should just make you think, hey, I better have a strategy. That's why in this podcast at the beginning, I always offer you a strategic framework to begin thinking about it. Because if you bring your misperceptions into the business, or you've been working under the wrong paradigm for years like I did, then it just never really gets better. It doesn't. So you have to know how things really work correctly in any business. And that's not my opinion. That means go on a discovery to try to figure out how these things actually work, study them, learn from them, etc. Okay? So the first thing that there are many things, but what's the most important? Well, let me go back to the premise that if this business is predicated on the acquisition of listings, well, how do you get them? So I have a lot of, in my brokerage, that's the sister company to the Realty Classroom, it's called the Griffin now, which is a more global name for Griffin Realty Group. As we go across the country, we're licensed now in 5 different states, and we have a lot of new agents that are coming to us to be part of this virtual agency, and that's their first question. What do I do? Well, we slow it down a little bit and say, first of all, you have to understand the geography within which you're doing it. I mean, you can't sit there and try to do a whole county with 11,000 sales. That's absurd. Right? Not only does that take the many things to too many things, it's enough to paralyze you and think, I just can't do anything. And one of my agents that's new said that to me. I was overwhelmed when I saw it because I asked how they felt. So what I said is just narrow it down to an area that you can begin to study how you will find this one thing that helps you get those listings, to understand where are they first. Right? You don't just start going after listings and find that one thing that helps you get them until you say where. So what I like to say to agents is, look, if you live in a particular area, pick the best part of that area because you are a local expert. See, we don't just sell houses, we sell lifestyle. It's what we do. And when I say we sell lifestyle, we guide people to the lifestyle and the house within that lifestyle that they think they might like. So do your geographic targeting first by saying, I think I'd like here. Great. Then you go to MLS and say, how many listings were sold in that geography inside the last 12 months, consecutive 12 months. You can go back to the last calendar year. It's just studying what reality is. How did it really work in that geography? And then you see the number of listings. And then you can break it down further to say, okay, he keeps talking about being most profitable. So what was the median number? What was the average number for that listing? How many sales happened that way? Now you have a real, I guess, a couple of concrete numbers that tell you the reality of your business. And it was able to, well, my agents are getting that in a week. And I help them adjust by going too big, too small. And then we start to talk about, okay, there are a bunch of listings that happen. And quite frankly, from a blanket standpoint, theoretically, you could call every single listing median and above price based on I guess you could use the assessed value or big data. You could call everybody and start to strike up a conversation, but that would be a little bit non-strategic. And that's not the best thing. And it's not the fastest. Here we go as we make this segue. So the question now begs is, okay, good, we've done our geographic study, but what creates prospects the fastest? So a lot of you will hear the term prospecting and you won't really know what it means. I didn't. When I first got into this business, I had never really been involved in any formal training. Ironically, I worked for a venture capital firm and I was a telemarketer. That's what I did. Bunch of smart folks sitting around on the phone and we were calling small companies that were growing and we were trying to find out if they'd be interested in having private investment money come into the company. And when I look back, I'm thinking, wow, I mean, that was pretty good experience for me because that helped me craft all of this. But man, it was barbaric too. We were tasked with finding the leads too. There was no organized way to find those companies that fit a certain criteria. So I would evolve that this way. But the fastest way to getting to find somebody from a lead to a prospect, and there's the difference in definition. A lead is I guess a contact is the best way to say it. Contact is universal, right? The name of the seller, the location, all of that's a contact. A lead means you don't know anything about their interest to sell the property inside the next 12 months, because those are some of the basic criteria for prospecting somebody. You can build systems, and I did, to be a perpetual follow-up machine that could follow up with somebody forever until they want to list their property. But I started to condense it down because I need to grow my business now, and I need it to be the fastest it can be with a reasonable approach. I mean, you can grow a business fast by just being unreasonable. And I know a lot of top producers that do that by building gobs of lead generation and just calling anybody and everybody. And that leads mostly to low-end distressed sale buyers. It doesn't lead to more listings at or above the median at all. So you have that question, and I'm not going to really get into the big time how to do it. But when I'm coaching my clients and when I'm coaching Griffin agents, I'm really just asking them, okay, what are you willing to do that will get you on the phone and or face-to-face with somebody who's thinking about selling? So really, let's go back to, if you said, oh, I live in, for example, one of my new agents, she lives in the town of Plymouth, Massachusetts. Yep, think Mayflower, that Plymouth. So there's a beautiful waterfront section in Plymouth, but Plymouth is a big place and it goes all the way interior. So I said, well, why don't you just consider what's sold at, near, around the water? Just do your studying there. And then in that batch, there are always people that tried and failed. Your expireds, your canceled withdrawals. Then pull that list. Then drive around those places. Take a look at those places. And then, of course, in my world, where we have very specific offering for any seller, no matter what their context, expired or the first time they're going to market, we offer a plan of information plus data from the MLS that will help them see what that money's buying that they want to get, a market update for Plymouth. All of that can be given away. So you're prepared to have this conversation. But you have two options. You can walk right up to the door and introduce yourself with this package of information and give the gift. Or you can use a service to get those telephone numbers, and there's a lot of them for free online, and you can pick up the phone. You can follow a very specific script that we've developed over a long period of time. You can introduce the information properly and get it to them. And that begins this act of prospecting. So that's why I said I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, because there are myriad ways that you can find sellers, from probates to for sale by owners to just a list that you're calling into, to seeing if anybody is thinking about selling, and you can give them a market update newsletter for free. There are myriad ways for you to be creative to figure out how to get that prospect. But again, this is about that one thing. So in my world, the one thing is picking up the phone. There is no greater leverage than picking up the phone. Now, I will say that not just prospecting and picking up the phone as the fastest, picking up the phone during a negotiation, picking up the phone during a problem, picking up the phone during a closing, a renegotiation after a home inspection, picking up the phone is the fastest way to move business through and to a closing. There's no faster way. So commanding that skill set on the phone is really what the third point is about. It's really, that's the thing. But third point, what stops you from focusing on that prime mover, right? So if we agree that picking up the phone to call leads, to follow up with prospects, to stay in touch with clients and be proactive and stop being so dang reactive in this digital age. You're all waiting for the buyer to find the property online and tell you how you can make money by showing them the property. You've got to pick up the phone and keep that conversation going with the client. Keep them alive. Then during the closing process, stop abdicating to your closing coordinator, the title company, whatever it might be, and making sure we're out ahead of all this, and your client is calm and they're organized and they're meeting their dates and deadlines. You see what I mean? The one thing is the beauty of the phone. The phone. Audio, voice, they can pick up, you can pick up, they can pick up what the feeling of the conversation is. There's nothing lost in translation from a text or an email. Everybody's trying to read tone on text and email. You can't hear it. You can't hear that the person's actually freaking out, or you can't hear that the other broker's just stressed out and they didn't mean to stress you out, right? It could go on and on and on. But what stops you from doing that? Why won't you pick up the phone to call people? Now, a lot of you don't know what to say. You don't know what to offer. I understand. My quick advice on that is offer them information that would be helpful to them as a seller. A market update. What's going on in the marketplace? 5 or 6 properties that sold around them in the price they're hoping to get. And then your plan. You've got to have a plan. I can't tell you enough times, if you don't have a simple plan for sellers, and a plan is not your resume or lack thereof. A plan is the steps that they're going to go through to sell the property with or without you. So just think, what steps does a seller have to go through? So if you give them a market update, 5 or 6 MLS printouts of what sold, and you give them a copy of a plan that could help them, you're giving away your best stuff for free, expecting nothing in return. And you will never have a greater unique selling proposition than doing that. Let that sink in. I know a lot of you top producers, well, I've been selling here for a long time, Marissa. Who cares? Who cares? A lot of you are starting to fall down that rabbit hole of thinking your resume is making you so great, when the truth is, you and I both know, 88% of the time, it's another broker bringing you the buyer. You're just fortunate enough to be in that listing business. And that's for all you newbies to understand. Stop being intimidated by what you think. Well, everybody else is picking up the phone and calling them. All the top producers own that area. BS. That's your head talking you out of it. I'm talking as a top producer. I'm talking as one of the top agents in my area that lists. You can beat me if you follow a strategy and they like you better. That's predictable, irrational behavior. People will make a good decision. If you both are organized professionally, they'll make a decision based on whether or not they like you, no matter how big the resume is. So stop getting caught up in all of the reasons why you won't pick up the phone. See, a lot of you won't telemarket a lead because you're not thinking like this. You're thinking about taking, and you hear all these trainers that are just awful at telling you to muscle their way through the door. It makes me cringe when I realize how much more effective it is to give something first. In the law of reciprocity is no new law, folks, right? Giving away your best stuff and getting something in return in the form of an opportunity to prospect and turn that person into a client is more powerful than any muscle will ever be. And plus, you're not stressed out, okay? So you have to really be honest with yourself. What is stopping you from focusing on that outbound call is probably couple things. One, you have low self-esteem and you think it could never be me. But two, you really might not know what to give away and what to say. Start with giving away stuff and that'll open up, how you need to talk to them beyond that. Okay. Because I'm not going to get into a real detailed coaching, what I do with folks, but believe me, folks, I work on this every single week. I work on obsessively listening to recorded calls, listening to anecdotes of what happens in a house. And I do the job still. I mean, I'm fresh off of a double open house this weekend where I can talk to real people and I can hear what they really say and what's really important. All this training and coaching that's based in theory, get out there and do it, right? Then you know. Finally here, perfecting and growing that prime mover will grow your business faster than anything else. So what I mean by that is what I just said. In my TRC mastermind group, I'm responsible for documenting all of this and writing all of this. So I am literally sitting here editing the seller plan and the buyer plan. And of course, for all of you agents, the agent plan, right? I'm always editing those core plans. So I have a very core what to do plan that I can give away. That's why I say freeagentgift.com. You want to get a sampling of what a free plan looks like and you want to use that framework for your seller plan, your buyer plan, go for it. Right? I give it away for free, expecting nothing in return. I walk the walk. But see, perfecting and growing telemarketing for me, because it's a prime mover, is changing my life in this business. Look I've been in it for 22 and a half years to be specific. And in the last 12 months, I have obsessed over that plan and what we say to offer that plan to any context. Meaning expireds, probates where somebody's the administrator of an estate where somebody has passed, for sale by owners. Not a big fan of them, but I still wrote it out. Calling into an area to offer a market newsletter that leads to a potential conversation about selling. Calling into an area where we have just listed a property. Calling into an area where we're having an open house. Calling into an area where we just sold something. I obsess over that prime mover and I listen and I tweak. And I listen, by the way, to whom? I listen mostly to the consumer and how they react to things, and especially to the people in my world that make those outbound calls on my behalf. All right, let me go back and summarize this. Really important subject and easy to understand. What's the one key thing that grows your business the fastest? You have to ask yourself that, right? So the first point was, there are many things that you do to grow your business, but what's the most important? The second point is, when you're looking for that, ask yourself this question: what creates prospects the fastest? And I mean listing prospects the fastest. That's where I would go. I don't want to kick the buyers out, but I just don't want to send you off as the prime mover to buyers, because it's not. In our business, it's the listings. What creates listing prospects the fastest, right? My suggestion is it's an outbound call. The third thing, is what stops you from focusing on a prime mover like telemarketing? What is it? Is it your lack of what to say? You don't have a plan ready. You don't have a script ready. Go work on that stuff. And lastly, remember that perfecting and growing that prime mover like telemarketing will grow your business faster than anything else. It has done it for me, and I do this every day. Go Google my company, the Griffin Realty Group. Either way, you're going to find me. I'm there listing these properties, working with my own sales machine team, and teaching agents now in multiple states how to do the same. I'll summarize it this way. The concept of focusing on doing one thing very well to grow your real estate business can seem limiting and unrealistic. It doesn't sound right. After all, aren't there many things that you could do to grow a business? Yes. But if you truly apply the 80-20 rule, that generally 80% of your growth will come from 20% of your effort, right? And it might even be 90-10 when you get into it like it is for me. Then you can put your trust in that fundamental 80-20 law that will push you to discover the one thing that grows your business better than all other options. All right. Remember, you can take immediate action and get started in the right direction or a better direction if you're already in the business like I did. I needed a better direction with our free, simple business plan. It's an outline. It's just a strategic outline. There's a one-page infographic. You can print it, put it up on the wall. That's what we do with all our agents and all of our mastermind members who are selling some of the millions of dollars a year. Freeagentgift.com. Freeagentgift.com, okay? Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. We also post our coaching content on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the Realty Classroom channel. We'd also appreciate if you would share our content with other real estate agents just like you so that they get the help that they need. And remember this, I sign off the same way every single week, he said with a scratchy voice because he talks all week for a living. Remember, nobody's coming for you. Nobody. There's no cavalry. There's nobody coming to save you. So go get to work on your business to make it better. And we'll see you in the next episode to hopefully help you do just that. Thanks again.